Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
If you see, we've got some new faces here. That's exciting. We get a lot of the same people every time, but we have a few different folks. It's good to see you. If you're joining us for the first time, like drop a note in the chat and say who you are and what you do and where you're joining us from, because that's always nice to see. I'm Sarah. That's Kath.
I'm Kath. Yeah.
we because I know there's some new people, so I want to just kind of introduce ourselves. Kath and I each have our own businesses, but we pretty much only work together.
Do a few side things, but mainly together.
and so my business is Sarah Moon & Co. And we do website design and SEO and strategy, including business strategy for creative folks, basically. Mm-hmm. And we are all about sort of no nonsense, practical, immediately actionable approaches to things. We are that's kind of our deal. I'm like trying not to editorialize too much, but that's sort of our thing. And Kath has a lot of background in training. Mm-hmm. And does a bunch of stuff with us, including training our clients and copy coaching and things like that. Kath, what do you do?
That's what I do. I do copy coaching with clients that book our design in a day. And training. That's my thing, training. And I write a lot of blog posts about using Squarespace specifically.
And if you're lucky, one of Kath's cats may just make an appearance.
Yeah, she's fast asleep right now, but
because Mochi seems to really like these AMAs.
She likes to join in. She
has a lot of thoughts on these subjects. So we do these monthly, different topics each month. And last month we talked about portfolios, and they're very informal. We've talked about SEO. We've talked about Kath, I can't even remember all of them we've done.
Maybe or Squarespace.
We did blogging for your business. That was fun. They're very informal. We're not trying to sell you anything. When we have sort of more complicated topics. So Rebecca from Oakland says, my cat likes to attend architecture for meetings with my partner.
What are you going to do?
Don't take that cat's advice on building things, though.
No.
You can't trust a cat on anything that's going to involve structural engineering.
I just want to quickly say, Lindsay, are you still having trouble listening? The audio isn't working. Is anyone else having trouble hearing? I'm just looking at the chats here.
Sometimes every once in a while, like Crowdcast can be a little dodgy, and you may need to try a different browser. So if you do have trouble, like if you're in Chrome, try Safari, or if you're in Safari, try Firefox, especially just because all these services are getting so busy.
Yeah, I'm noticing a difference. So
it's really something. So anyway, and we have started, sometimes when we have these particularly difficult or complicated subjects, I'll do a little quick talk beforehand just to kind of provide some framework. This is one of those cases because there are a bunch of ways you can think about evaluating how your website is doing. And so I want to kind of give you some context for how I look at websites. My way is not the way. There are lots of ways, and they are all valid and legitimate. So I always just want to say that. And if you're interested in having us take a look and give you some top level advice on your website, there's an ask a question button down at the sort of about 2/3 of the way over down there at the bottom of your screen. It says ask a question, and you can just drop your site in there. I can't promise we'll get to everyone. We're going to kind of pick and choose. And do our very best. Hopefully you'll get, even if you're not submitting your site to have us take a peek at, you'll get something out of it that you can take away, because I think it's kind of a fun I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's a fun exercise, actually. And Kath and I keep it positive. So that also just, we're not going to like say like, your stuff sucks. That's not what we do.
No.
So Kath, why don't you mute yourself so I don't have to invite you back on screen?
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and focus my screen and talk through just my kind of keys to having a successful website real quick. Does that make sense? All righty. So I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Like I said, you're not here to hear me talk on and on and on. You're here to get some good advice. But I did want to give you some good general things to think about. So even if you're not participating actively in the AMA, you can take some of these principles and think about them later today, tomorrow, maybe if you're taking some time off for the holidays, kind of use this in light of your own website and use what you need and don't use what you don't need. So one of the things I tell our clients all the time is don't reinvent the wheel. And we say this over and over again about all kinds of things, but really there are things that work on websites. We reuse these techniques over and over again. When a client is struggling with their homepage, I can literally rattle off what they should put on their homepage because there is a system that works. And so I tell people, like, use the formulas. This is one of those situations where formulas are awesome. So we also really like to focus on your website needs to be a tool that works for you. A lot of times we get really focused on, I can't have that image crop that way. Oh, that green isn't quite right. I need to find, a custom font and install that on my site, especially if you're DIYing your website, so doing it yourself. Don't worry too much about that. Make it, be tasteful. Find colors and imagery that make sense for you, that are high quality, but don't forget about all the other things that are important. And that's really your content, your flow, your accessibility, how usable your site is in general. Keep those in mind too. They should have at least equal footing with the colors, fonts, imagery. I would argue they're more important than the colors, fonts, imagery, but some people will disagree with me. So my first question I'd like you to ask yourself, is it crystal clear what you do? Now you say like, well, obviously I know exactly what I do, but put yourself in the shoes of someone who is unfamiliar with you and who maybe even isn't familiar with the field that you're working in, but they vaguely know they need help with something. That's something that is very, very common for folks to struggle with, is that they think it's super obvious. It's not super obvious. So when someone comes to your website, here's some of the things you need to be thinking about. What is their problem? What is the problem you can solve? Now, you may, for example, sell product. And you're like, well, I'm not really solving a problem. I'm not offering a service. You are still solving a problem. Like maybe they want a beautiful accessory. Maybe they want to feel, maybe they want clothes that are comfortable because they're working from home. Maybe they want some beautiful artwork to brighten up their house. Like there are always problems that you're solving for your potential customer or client. Use actual words. I know that sounds super obvious, but I often evaluate websites that frankly have no written text. And you really need to have actual words that say what it is you do. That also is helpful for Google. Google really likes to see a nice density of keywords on a website so that it can understand what you're doing. And then also make sure that your brand is aligned. So that's something that, especially as I recently went through a rebrand of my company, I feel more and more that making sure that your visuals, your text, your tone, everything all feels connected. That doesn't mean you have to have a fancy brand mark. You can have a nice little bit of text as your logo. That's fine. I'm not talking about your logo. I'm talking about consistency. Number 2, is there a clear action for visitors to take? Again, this is one of those where you're like, Sarah, seriously? Guys, I'm going to tell you that this is another point at which people think that it's obvious to them. Like, obviously you get in touch. People don't know that. They maybe just aren't sure, what do I, if I'm interested in this thing, how do I inquire? Or maybe you're using lingo that's unfamiliar to them. And maybe your call to action is teeny tiny down in the footer. So your call to action is the thing that's telling people to do something. Like, does this sound good? Get in touch for a free consultation. That is a call to action. Don't use lingo. Don't be cute. Make sure that people understand exactly what the next step is. And just don't make any assumptions. I literally have had this, in my own experience, had people say, oh, are you taking new clients? And I'm like, really? You have to ask? Well, that's actually really good feedback. Clearly, that's something that I did not do a good enough job of communicating. So just don't assume what people know. Number 3, we're on the home stretch. Do you have a clear point of view? And this is something I see, particularly in some of the sort of online business type world. We start to see a lot of very same language, same visuals. It's very hard to distinguish from business to business. So if you think about someone who's doing some research, are they going to remember the person who has the perspective and tone and look that's the same as everyone else? Or are they going to remember in the course of their research the person who stands out? And I will tell you one of my favorite stories. One of my longest time clients, who's gotten to be a very close friend. I've done, I think, her website 4 times over the course of her business. We have always used surprising colors. She's a piano technician, so she goes and tunes people's pianos. And we've always used this really bright tangerine color, and it's complemented by a nice blue. And she speaks about pianos with so much love and passion. And I know that sounds really funny, but she truly believes piano is the greatest invention of all time. And she literally says this on her website. People over and over and over again comment on how, oh, I wanted to work with you because your website is so engaging, because I can tell you love pianos, because everyone else's website was black and white and that was just depressing. Like, people have literally said that to her. So she's used her website to really help people remember her and her point of view. And it's such a powerful thing to do. So my litmus test for the point of view is threefold. One, is what you're saying true? Is everything you're presenting meaningful to your intended audience? And is that going to stand out? Is it distinctive? And if people, I know there's a couple people in here who've worked with me and they've probably heard me rattle those 3 things off, and you're like, oh my goodness, Sarah, come on. And then finally, is there a secondary call to action? One of the things that we often do is we ask too much of people right off the bat when they come to our website. And we forget that people are often in research mode, where they are trying to figure out what their next steps are. They're maybe trying to figure out what they should budget. They may be someone like me, where if I'm going to be doing something, I start researching it a year in advance and bookmarking and collecting websites of people I maybe want to work with. So those are things just to keep in mind, is that your customer isn't always immediately on a journey to make a buying decision. And you can make sure that you stay connected with that person throughout their journey by doing things like writing a blog, which also is great for SEO, which I know everyone is concerned about. Creating a newsletter. My newsletter is probably the most powerful marketing tool I have right now, in terms of a direct line from people who are aware of me and engaged on a smaller level to people who are actually purchasing services or products. And then think about offering some kind of lead magnet. And you may think, well, I run a store. How can I have a lead magnet? You can totally have some kind of freebie, such as if you are an interior store, you could have a guide to refreshing your living room with accessories and have like a checklist or a guide or a mini ebook. You can get really creative. And especially if you have, different audiences, you can create those kinds of things for each of your audiences. Lots and lots of stuff you can do to, again, keep them engaged with your brand and your website, even when they're not at the point where they're like, yes, I'm going to give you money for what you do. Like I said, I'm keeping it nice and short. Kath and I are all about simplicity. So if you haven't joined us before, you haven't seen the It's That Simple slide. This is a little like Easter egg in everything we do, because we really do try to simplify things as much as possible. What I would love for you to do is actually evaluate. I'll send everyone a link to a PDF of this, but look at your own websites and evaluate it based on those 4 principles, and just do some thinking over the next few weeks and do some tweaks if you're finding yourself kind of missing the mark a little bit. It's totally fine. It takes time. It's all good.
All right. There we go.
How fast did I get through it?
Well,
I just timed myself.
We chatted for a good 3 or 4 minutes, so 10 minutes. Nice.
Oh, Rachel, it's okay. Rachel answered no to many of those questions.
I still think
that is okay. I still don't answer. I am a professional web designer. I've been doing it for a million years at this point. 12, but like it feels like a million. I do not have every single one of those things dialed in. One of my biggest struggles is actually the what do you do? Because that is not the first thing you see when you go to my website. Because I really want to have I want people to understand where I'm coming from, and I've made this choice. I know that I need to work on that, and that's something I need. It's a process. And that's the thing that I think sometimes, Kath, when you say with our clients who are new to the online world, a lot of times they're like, I have to have it all perfect immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been doing this a long time, and but there's always aspirations.
Yeah. And then you're trying something, it doesn't work, and then you change it. So all of that is part of not having it all.
Progress, not perfection.
Yes, progress.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, and the other thing to keep in mind is that we all change so much. I mean, Kath, I think you are so awesome, so often such a great example.
I'm awesome too.
You are awesome. So often such a great example of is your business is just so dynamic.
Yeah.
And what your priorities are and the kind of things that get you really excited have changed a lot over the recent years. And, so you have some of that misalignment.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And it's taking me quite a long time to sort of readjust, and it's happening, but it has taken time. So, and I still need to do more work
Yes. I mean, and we all do. I mean, that's the...
But we won't look at my website today.
we can pull up Kath's website.
No. Well, so this is the first time we've done this, right, Sarah? Where we look at the website. So we just dive in, I guess.
And I am gonna do a little screen share. So
awesome.
I'm just looking through.
So you might want to should we unfocus me again? And
I think we don't need to mute you. We'll just unfocus us both. Okay. But I'm just looking through, kind of making a. Let's just start with Julie.
Okay.
And I'm going to. So if we answer a question, if you're say not able to join us live, and we do answer one of your questions, and we use the question and answers box, you can actually click on your question, and it'll take you to the timestamp in the video. It's pretty cool. So just an FYI to anyone who's watching the replay and hoping to see theirs, look for your question and it'll take you there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to Smooth Moves Lab. And so I want to look in some.
All right, Julie.
So Julie says, my website is smoothmoveslabs.org. I have too many words, especially on the homepage. I plan to change to a Brine template and do a scrolling homepage to help. Also not sure if I'm using products, blocks, and pages that well. I have them for my class and workshops page and one-to-ones. Perhaps I could be presenting my services better. So Julie, actually, we were talking about your site before we got live. And one of the things I said was, I'd really like to see this content broken up. So I think you're on the right track, because if you are on a different template that doesn't allow you to have, say, sections, that alone is probably causing you some stress and some problems. And so I think you're on the right path with the homepage. I would actually, frankly, maybe not cut the copy. Like you had mentioned that you have too many words. One of the things that's sort of a misnomer in the, I guess in the online world is that people a lot of times say, well, people don't read. That's not true. People don't read content that's poorly organized, or very hard to read. Like say literally the text is too small, too faint, hard to find. People do indeed read the words if it's well organized, and Google actually ranks pages higher that have more words on them. So a lot of times it's actually not that, oh, I have too much, because when you look at your homepage, it's actually, you don't have that many words, really.
Yeah, you can move stuff around.
You can move stuff around.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this photo is really lovely. I really like this photo. This is your intro, what this method is all about. You could easily use image card blocks, which if you haven't, Kath, I don't know if you could drop the link into how those work.
Yeah, I'll do that while
this is a Squarespace site. I did peek at the back end coding to make sure. But that can create some nice alignment. So you have like image on the side, you know, text aligned next to it. So telling a little bit of a more immersive story, so that if someone's scrolling through, they kind of have these, and you can even use the animations that are part of the card blocks as well. So they're starting to float in, and I think that would make sense. I mean, your website is Smooth Moves Lab. So having some of that movement, I think, would also make a big difference to kind of, again, that brand alignment I was talking about. And the other thing that I saw that's jumped out at me,
it's the hiding the CTA.
well, but I assume you have a studio somewhere that in non-COVID times people can come to.
Oh, you hire spaces. She hires spaces.
Yeah. Okay. Are you located? Do you travel, or do you hire, or are you based in a specific location? Okay. So I would definitely put, you know, especially as you're thinking, you know, again, down the line when you can, you know, have people come do things in person. I would definitely put the location, because that did not jump out at me. It's hidden right down here. So that's just something to put on your list of things to keep in mind. In this classes, workshops, and one-on-one, Kath, would you, if it were you, would you use, you know, say some images or something like that to kind of denote what those workshops are, like put those on the homepage?
Yeah, like maybe even if you're in the Squarespace, specifically Squarespace 7.0, you can have like a gallery that almost breaks apart sections and then makes it really stand out that that's what that is. But I think I'd also move that up higher, maybe even if you have a banner image at the top in the future, like let people know that this is where they go for classes and this is where they do one-on-one right away. And then you can have more information later. Right?
And the other thing you'll want to watch is your internal links. So that means links to your own website. And make sure those open in the same window, not a new window, because when I was clicking through, it was popping me over to a brand new window when I was looking for like find a class or workshop. And we humans, we are not very we confuse easily. So yeah, and you've got some lovely testimonials as well. And so I would sprinkle those throughout as well.
That's actually a big point of view thing that Sarah and I have with our clients, and I think I may have blogged about it, maybe you have as well, is get those testimonials on different pages. If there might be a testimonial that works better on your about page. One of our colleagues was testing out throwing a testimonial before a call to action button, and she noticed I can't remember the percentage, but there was a much higher percentage of buying or clicking through.
Yes.
Because she had a testimonial, I think it was either under the button or above it. So you
Yeah,
can
but they were
take those
nested
testimonials
near
and
each
move them
other.
around.
And because you
Yeah.
have, like,
Yeah.
this is a lovely, like, this right here is such a lovely testimonial. Loved your kind, calm, clear approach. Loved how the guidance and instructions helped me stay on track in my body and not in my thoughts and my heads. Like, that is a wonderful, wonderful testimonial. And it would be sad to have it kind of get lost. So maybe that would be a good one for an about page.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can
You
move
know,
those around, definitely. And that would take some of the text off your homepage by having those testimonials elsewhere.
and the cool thing about testimonials is that your actual customers or clients, they use keywords when they're talking in a very natural way.
Yeah.
It is something that those of us who own our businesses, we tend to use words that make sense for us
And our peers, which is
and
not
our
weird.
peers, which is not helpful to normal people.
Just looking through this.
Kath and I do that all the time. You should hear the conversations we have between ourselves. Like, we're using acronyms and we're using just jargon, and we wouldn't, if someone was listening to us, they'd think we're out of our minds. And but then you look at those testimonials that people use, and they're so full of just really natural, plain language. And so that also can be really helpful to you if you do, especially if you do something. I know, Julie, you use a very specific methodology, and so there may be a lot of new terms to people. But that person saying, like, comfortable in my body, those kinds of those kinds of lingo that they're using, like less pain and stiffness. More aware of my body, they're gentle. Like, these are such good words that the students are using, that are a good balance to you having to explain what the methodology is that you use. So having those peppered around can make a big difference.
If I could just, before we move on to the next website, if I could just steal or share an idea. Testimonials are great as is. Obviously, the person said it, you've got their quote, you've put their name underneath, but you can also steal the language from testimonials to make a headline. And if I could, I'll just go in, and I just want to grab one of your testimonials.
Do it.
And see if I can come up with a really quick headline just from that, if you don't mind. And then other people can try that too. So I'm posting it in the chat here. And so this is the whole testimonial. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is that Feldenkrais? Has just made me far more aware of my body in general. The classes are gentle but powerful meditation. Okay.
I mean, this is
antidote to this turbulent world we live in. Julie is a calm and caring teacher. Okay, so like a real simple headline could be gentle, powerful, Felden, I'm so sorry if I say that wrong, classes for body awareness. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. And
that gentle and powerful verbiage is really, I think, for the right person, that's something that would hit them emotionally. And so really elevating that language could make a big difference.
So take those testimonials, take some of those wonderful keywords, that natural language keywords, plonk a verb if possible in front, take gentle, powerful Feldenkrais classes so that you can become body aware. Boom, headline.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not quite what you're trying to say, but hopefully you get, this is one of Kath's best tricks, is literally looking at things like Yelp reviews and such to help people come up with good verbiage that Google will like, but also that I think that humans will be like,
she's talking to me, or he's talking to me, or whatever. Yeah.
There is something, if we can help people feel seen, it can be such a powerful thing in them creating a connection with us. And if you remember how I was talking about, a lot of people are in research mode. They'll create and maybe they'll sign up for an email list, and then 6 months from now, they'll sign up for a workshop. I mean, there's that kind of, it's like I was telling you though about the client who literally says, I truly believe the pianos are the greatest invention of all time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, her clients believe that too. These are people who have made piano either a very big sort of piece of their life in terms of their hobby. It is sort of the thing they do for fun, to relax, to connect with something they're passionate about, or they do it as a career. So to them, they're like, yes, the piano is the most is the greatest invention of all time. It's saying those things where you can connect with someone emotionally is really, and not in a manipulative way, in a really honest way. And so for someone who's looking for, some, movement classes, maybe they've tried, other methods. Maybe they've tried yoga, it didn't quite work for them. Maybe they've gone to like those fitness classes where people scream at you. They, they found that really stressful, but saying like, this is, gentle, we're helping you become aware of your body, those kinds of things. Like these people have so graciously told you the outcomes that you've created. I mean, that can be a really good emotional connection.
So for everyone listening, because I think everyone can benefit from this example, is you get these from Yelp reviews, and they can be your competitors.
Borrow your competitors.
Yeah, well, from another city though, like not your actual competitors. Look at your emails. Look at what your clients and customers have said to you in an email. And then the testimonials that you actually get as well. So just those are the places where you can look for really good language for your website so that you can tell people what you do and get really crystal clear on what you do, because they're telling you what you do and how you help solve their problem. All right, Sarah, should we do the next one?
Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you so much, Julie. That was a great one.
Julie. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was because you have the bones.
Yes.
It's really just your steps, I think, are, playing with the language so that you're kind of making that human connection, and then splitting up that homepage so it really tells a story. Like, what is this method? How does it help you? What are people saying? Okay, I'm on board.
Boom.
How can I take a class, a workshop, what have you? Yeah. So really thinking in that terms of that flow, like telling that story where you're like, here's why this is such a cool methodology. Here's what'll happen. Here's how you get started. All righty.
All right.
So I was just,
yay, Julie. Yay.
I'm going to just grab, we've got Raymond up next.
Yeah, Raymond's here. Hi, Raymond.
Hi, Raymond. Let me pull your website up so everyone can see it.
I'll just finish my coffee here.
This is fun, Kath.
Mm-hmm. And Raymond, you're also a Squarespace site, I think?
Yeah, he is. I peeked at his code too.
We like to peek at the code.
All right. Sorry, I'm having a copy paste problem here. There we go. So Raymond, for something completely different, Raymond is an artist. And it looks like you're using what's called in Squarespace, if you're not a Squarespace user, it's called a cover page on his homepage. A lot of artists use this methodology, and I'm going to say it's not my favorite. Kath, do you have?
Well, googly wise, I don't think it's a good one, right? Is this 7.0 we're talking about? Because they don't have cover pages. And
they do not. They deprecated cover pages for the new version of Squarespace. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you there is a technical reason why I'm a crank about cover pages, and it's not that I'm just a big jerk. What happens is when you use a cover page, it actually makes Google oftentimes think that your site doesn't have navigation, because this text here, so if you see on Raymond's site here, this text here is actually not marked up as navigation. And so basically Google's like, guess there's no navigation on this site. Now that doesn't always happen, but it does happen sometimes. And so that's one of the reasons I don't like it from a technical standpoint, is because Google is fickle. And so you may be doing fine now, and then tomorrow Google will be like, guess what? I'm reading your site totally differently because I am kind of drunk. So, I know that sounds pretty silly, but it's true. That's sometimes the way I feel like Google's like stumbling around, like making stuff up as it goes. And so that's one of the reasons. So I'm not saying if it's something you love and you feel like is working for you, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be aware that at times it can be problematic. I do love this photo. Can I go back? Can I steer? Okay. This photo rocks. Wouldn't you agree, Kath?
I love it. Yeah.
Love. Come on, come back. This is a great photo. And something that a lot of artists will sometimes hide themselves on there because they say it's all about the work. But it's again that emotional connection. I'm so annoyed that the slideshow keeps like clicking back. I'm like, come on, I just want us all to look at this one photo. People love seeing artists do their thing, because while you're like I can make art every day, like this is not a big deal. We humans who don't make art every day love getting that factory tour. You know, it's like if I see a factory tour when I'm on like a road trip, I'm like, you know,
I want to see how this is made.
like give me a cheese factory and I'm there. And it's the same with art, where if we see someone making art, it feels like magic.
Yeah,
it really does. And that's why, you know, I'll even watch people's like Instagram lives of them, like, you know, drawing. I mean, all of that. And there's a reason why we get so captivated by that. So I just want to make sure that you know that this photo here
is a great one.
This is a great one. So
I was Raymond's goal is selling the existing work and gaining commissions. So how does he get more eyes on his website? So we talked
about eyeballs on your website.
Yeah. So we talked about the cover page as a potential technical issue.
Yeah.
And then what else? So more commissions.
Do you have a commissions page? Wait, where is it? All right.
Contact. Oh, he does have commissions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So step 1, I would actually make a page that is that's about commissions, how it happens, what the time, like actually make that a piece of your navigation. And I'm actually trying to look, there was someone I saw recently who had a really nice commissions page. And I'm not going to be able to find it on the fly. If I find it, I'll drop it in the chat. And I would make, Kath, wouldn't you say that making a commissions page, so it's like super obvious, like commissions.
Yeah, commissions, how to get in touch, how it happens, what's your process, what to expect, whatever that is. And
really good details. And I would even have a special form. Make it easy. Like have a special form that says like, commission inquiry, like, and, ask them some questions, get them that percolating, because forms are also one of those secretly magical things on websites, because what people will do is, and I've seen this, I have data to back this up, this isn't just me making stuff up, is that they will look at a form and think about it and then come back later and fill out the form. So, but you've planted some seeds simply by presenting them with the questions you're going to ask them. That like, oh, I can do this right now. I can take action. I, have some questions. I need to make sure I'm ready to, I'm ready to answer. I mean, I would definitely, just the people who come to your website probably aren't finding even that you can do a commissioned piece. Oops. All right. This is the other thing that drives me bonkers about cover pages. It's like, I don't want to go back to I want to go back to the art page. So
I'm just throwing in, there is an artist that I love. Her name is, I actually don't know her name. I know her handle. It's Etta V.
Oh, yeah.
She has a commissions page, so you can take a peek at her website. And she's an artist as well and does a lot of surface pattern and design for surfaces as well, but she takes commissions. So have a look at her page. I've dropped the link in the chat for you.
If you're feeling very ambitious, you may even want to think about, it looks like you're maybe using, Kath, does this template look familiar to you?
The template?
It does to me, and I'm not placing it.
Let me just get in. I'm looking at it.
It's like Montauk, maybe?
If it's got that sort of navigation, oh, I'm not sure.
It's maybe one of the deprecated ones.
It's always so hard to figure out which template it is because it's just based on a number.
Yeah, I mean,
I like 7.1 because 7.1 is the template.
Yeah. If you really wanted to be serious about trying to get more commissions, you may want to think about swapping your template more for a more traditional sales oriented template. I'm trying to think, Kath, if even Kate, our client who's the jewelry designer, she has a really good model to follow. Wouldn't you
Let me
think
go
that
find the link for you.
definitely uses a cheat sheet? And actually, I think we have a jewelry designer in this who asked a question, so this will be good for. But that would be a model if you were feeling ambitious and wanted to kind of like break apart your website, put a new template in. I think that would be a good step if you're really wanting to get more commissions.
Yeah, her commission page is it's called custom, I believe, right?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about her homepage.
Oh, her homepage. Okay.
Using that homepage as a model. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she really tells a story there.
She tells a story. And I think, Raymond, with the type of work you do, telling a story, connecting with the audience is especially if someone's doing a commission, they have to kind of work with you in explaining their vision. And so you don't want to obviously make it all about you, but why you is really the question you want to answer.
Mm-hmm. Like, who are the people right now that book you for commissions? Who are they? Because, and I was thinking about your eyeballs on your website. They might be the ones that will talk about you and get eyeballs on your website, if that makes sense, right? So who are they, and what was it about working with you and about your artwork that they loved so much that they commissioned you?
So I hope this is helpful to the person in the chat who is also a jewelry designer, because this is one of our clients. We recently redesigned her website. She's a jewelry designer. She's just an amazing artist. Her work just blows me away. And but I love her homepage because she makes a really nice statement, that really explains her point of view. So she brings the beauty of organic and industrial together. She has hot off the bench, so she has recent work. She has right away, who on earth is this person? So she works with some interesting materials and has different collections of work. And so you walk through, you can see here's her hardware collection. Here's sand, modern classics, and then these one-of-a-kinds. And then here's that call to action. And her call to action is actually for her past customers, which is a show and tell.
Yeah.
Which is a very unusual. But this homepage format, this is not a reinventing the wheel situation. Wouldn't you agree, Kath?
Yeah.
I mean, this is classic storytelling type homepage flow. Make a statement that kind of explains your point of view, recent work, who on earth is this person, and then showing off the collections, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very simple. And that's something. So I was thinking even Raymond, he could use, one of those photos of him, him actually painting could be an interesting. One of the problems I've had with the templates is they don't allow for captions for my work. That is actually probably a template problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're on one of the old templates that had stupid restrictions.
That would be where I would suggest you get in touch with Squarespace and say, this is what I want the captions to do, or want to be able to do with captions. Which is the best template for that?
Yeah, I would actually do that too, because I know now that you've said that, I bet I know exactly what template you're using.
Wells, or I used Wells for the longest time.
Yeah, that's why you're having that. The root of, and I don't gamble, but if I did, I would be willing to bet that one of the reasons you're struggling to have people even find you online is because of that template. It has a lot of technical problems. I'm going to be really honest. When people reach out to me for SEO help and I see they're on that template, I will not take on the project, because I don't want to take their money and know that there's not going to be a way I can help them in a substantive way. That's how bad that template is. That sounds really dire, doesn't it? I'm sorry.
But it can change.
But it can change. It is literally it's literally a template problem, which is actually a fairly fixable issue.
Yeah.
You change the
template.
You don't want the Bryan family of templates, and they're fine. They don't have those technical problems. So yeah.
So we
It's
have
helpful.
any more
I was
thoughts
gonna
for
say we
this? I'm
had
just thinking like eyeballs. So eyeballs on the site is maybe possibly changing the template, not using a cover page, and
another thing that you may want to think about, honestly, is, I think, Raymond, you were in our case study AMA last month, if I remember correctly.
case studies.
Writing more about, and I know writing is a pain, it's a lot of work, but writing more about your work and your approach, and especially if you want to get more commissions, I bet there are a lot of people who are like asking really basic questions like, how do I commission artwork? Or how much does it cost to have a painting commission? Like I bet there are very basic questions that you could answer for people to help build some trust, and they could find you in Google better that way. Wouldn't you agree, Kath?
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to get the Brine family template thing. The one thing, again, so in terms of if you do decide to write 2 or 3 case studies, not a lot, is just create yourself a template or an outline in your head, or write it down and then just follow that outline.
Just follow it.
Easier.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Goal, like the dream, or whatever, like sort of what the client wanted or the customer wanted, what they were looking for, how you did it, your process, what they felt, maybe a testimonial, where they hung it up, if you have a photo, just have that outline for each case study, so you're not trying to write different things for different.
Yes, that will save your sanity.
Avenue is his template. Avenue.
Oh yeah, same problem.
Maybe they're from the same family.
I'm sorry, Raymond.
All right.
I'm really bad.
Oh no.
So I jumped over to Rebecca. Her I'll come back to the person that's below, just because I thought since we're talking jewelry, that I'd jump over to this one since it had a nice flow to where am I? Sorry, I have too many tabs.
Oh, okay. So you're going to do Rebecca first, and then
we'll go back up.
And then Nature's Hearth.
Yeah, since we'd already sort of so I believe this is also a Squarespace website. Yep, this is Squarespace. I love the you have a very clear gemstone jewelry handcrafted on Long Island.
Yeah, you have where you are, what you do. Location.
Yay. Well, and I think it also is that is a subtle differentiation point, because I know, it's interesting because internet jewelry, for lack of a better word, is become a very big thing. And a lot of that is, it is handcrafted, but it's sort of mass produced handcrafted, not, in overseas factory type situations. And so it's a good differentiation point that like you are a person who is sitting, at your jeweler's bench making jewelry, with intention. I think there's some very subtle, the person who wants this is very different than the person who wants the mass produced stuff. That's my 2 cents. And so, yeah. So, so I wanted to see what I want to read the rest. What else from an organic search perspective could I be doing? Your main challenge is just getting people to find you, right?
Yeah. What else could I be doing? So organic search is her goal, or yeah.
I'm just looking to see what all you've got here. Build your own. So it really is primarily I'm just looking through to see what is here. Shop the collection. So this is all shop stuff. Build your own is the custom. Oh no, that's clever.
Yeah.
That's really clever. Pop-up shop, discover. I'm just trying to see what we've got. So really let's see. I want to make sure I'm not making I'm not missing anything that's important. Big cues. So Kathy, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Do you want to do
blog?
It for me?
Are you going to say blog?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying, and that's hard when you have a shop and you do custom work. I mean, your fingers are tired. But even if, yeah, I mean, and I get that and I hear that and I really want to recognize that. But if you really want to get traffic in, it is very, very challenging for shop only businesses to do that without either paying for advertising on whatever, Google, social media, what have you, or getting really serious about content. And those choices, one is not better than the other.
Yeah.
And I also want to really reiterate that point. One of those is not better than the other. I think sometimes in the online marketing world, it's like people feel like, oh, well, I need to rank well in Google. There are other ways. However, they can get very expensive. So that's when we turn around again and are like, okay, well, my time versus my money, which do I choose? And there isn't a right choice, and that choice may change over time.
Yeah.
And so I do think that for your site, especially knowing your space, because I feel like I've got a little bit of a ringer here because I've done a lot of research in this particular area just from past clients we've worked with and stuff. It is a very competitive space.
Yeah.
Maybe
learning, I mean, I haven't read through all of your websites, so you probably already have these doing really well with these, but this is not my strong point, but product descriptions are obviously, if that's something that you need to work on, I don't know if it is, it might not be, which is separate from blogging, but
yeah, and that is, I actually should step back. So if you have done what you can out of with the product descriptions.
Yeah.
So this is so I'm going to tell you, like, this page, I mean, this is beautiful. I mean, the work is beautiful. There is on this page, there's some great imagery. There is maybe 100 words, if that. So all of these product pages will get seen as thin content. So your choice is either really beef up these product descriptions or start writing blog posts. My thought would be, can you kind of take the product education and put that turn those into blog posts and then have links, because I also love internal links. I'm probably not making any sense. Can you blog about product? Like 5 ways.
Or 5 ways to wear this piece of jewelry.
Yeah. Or like, I'm thinking, there's like a local, I lost my, there's a local jeweler here who, and I don't know what they do for their content marketing, but they do some really cool stuff in their social media that explains like ways to layer jewelry, and things like that. And it's like actually very, very cool. And there's another example. I really like I'm going to pull up an example that I really like. I hate where they where they put their navigation sucks. Sorry, it's so frustrating. When I can't find what I'm looking for. Like, I always have to Google these people's Joopy blog. There's a jeweler's blog I really like. That's right, because their URL is strange. Come on. So right now their blog, I'm going to drop this in the chat, but right now this company's blog is not as good because they're having shipping issues and things like that. Oh, I just saw something. Here's another thing. Watch your URLs. The URL for this piece is necklaces/dainty-evil-eye-necklace- I cannot say that word, -BZCLS-E9-BML-M3HCM-ZGJTT. So want to make sure that when you're duplicating product, you're cleaning up that URL.
Yeah.
And that's the options panel.
And that's in the options. And then and that's the same for blogs.
Blogs are the same.
Content. Make sure that you double check the URL, slug, and then.
And URLs are a relatively minor ranking factor, but when you have URL problems that pervade throughout your website, it becomes less minor because, if you have 3 that are funky, fine. If you have 30 that are funky, not so fine, because they've kind of come together to cause a problem. But I wanted to show you a jeweler's blog I like.
Choopy.
Yeah.
Is she the one in Ireland?
She's in Ireland.
Yeah.
So right now, honestly, her blog kind of sucks because it's all Christmas stuff, because they've had all these issues with shipping and stuff like that. So come back to it after the holidays are done. But they have great, like, our guide to, they have a series, an engagement series. They have things about their team, which is kind of cool. They have a behind the scenes. So
everyone loves the behind the scenes.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job of, guide to promise rings. So they do these really nice guides.
And the one thing too is, if you do some blogging and categorize it like this, etc., and link over to your different products that you have, if you decide to also advertise, so even if you're not being found immediately through organic search, if you do decide to advertise, you have places to send people.
Yes.
So you don't just send people to product, but you can also send them to different posts that gets them on your mailing list, if you have one, and reading the post and then linking around. So, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I actually it's funny because you say that, because I follow this gal on Instagram. I got an ad for them on Facebook, I believe, and it was linked to the ad actually took me to one of their blog posts. And I thought I'm always looking at what people are doing for their marketing. And I thought that was very clever, because so much of the jewelry ads you get are linking to product to buy. It might've been, was it this one? No, it was not this one. Anyway, it was sort of it was like a little refreshing to have it go to somewhere that wasn't just like, buy this thing. It was a guide to something. And I can't remember which one of the guides it was. I think it was like a guide to buying jewelry for yourself, sort of thing, or something like that. So she does a lot of really nice things. Talks about sustainability, talks about materials, talks about her team. So there's a lot of nice things that they do that make it like really feel human.
So anyway, yeah, thank you. So that was I'm gonna look at this. I'm not a jewelry wearer, unfortunately, but I love good blogs. So I'm gonna have a look at this one. So we have Amy's site now, Nature's Hearth.
Yes. So
hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
No, you were very patient. Thanks for waiting.
Really appreciate it. So Amy, if you could, I just want to say, so you are, it's a brand new website. You're placing an ad in traditional foods publication. You're unsure how to blog or connect with people in the natural foods niche. And you plan to change words on the homepage. So
I think the first thing, and we covered that before too, is we want to know who you are and what you do and how you help people right away.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not with your first image is very beautiful, but I would have thought you were an artist just looking at it straight off.
And that's what I said. I said, oh, I opened it up before our chat and I said to Kath, oh, another artist. And I was like, oh, wait, not an artist.
You might be an artist. I think but yeah, push that headline up higher on, in front, off to the side. You could do a right align, you could put, I don't know if you can't see me, but you could put the text on the right-hand side so that it doesn't cover the house and it fits nicely over the trees, for example.
Yeah. Or you could even do something like, for example, Kath, I don't think that site's live yet, but like we did with Elizabeth Hartman's website, where we used an image card as the first thing instead of like the big banner, where we had, what we did with her is we used, and there's an image card link that Kath dropped in here.
And I collect all the links at the end of this call.
Yeah.
And it will get
and so what we did with Elizabeth's site was we placed, because we didn't really want to have a lot of cropping. Let me see if I can. Actually, I think I can pull it up. It's not public yet, so don't tell.
I'm just making sure it's Squarespace. Is this Squarespace?
It is. I looked.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just show you an example of what I mean. And it's going to be a really distinctive look as well, because it's not something a lot of people are doing. So you can see what we did. So we had more white space, and we had this overlapping card. And this is the image card. And you can introduce what you do and have that image there. So it's right away really clear. And it's also just kind of a nice different look, to be honest. That's just an idea. But I think it's a good one. So yeah, just making it really, because I actually think this statement, like live naturally and nourish yourself, is really strong. And so if that was up higher on the page, and I try not to get too fussy about, placement on the page, but I think in your case, because Kath and I both had the same reaction that we thought you did something else, I think we need to listen to that. And so you've got a bunch of topics that you're writing about, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. So instead of writing, for example, topics, you could say something like sustainable.
Or these products.
Sustainable living essays or something like that.
Let's see what these.
So, okay. On the homepage, what I wrote was, if you've been wanting to fill your kitchen with nourishing food, this is the place to do it. Yeah, like you could have like a headline is like live naturally and nourish yourself. That's your headline right there. Mm-hmm. And then underneath a sort of little subheading of, if you've been wanting to fill your kitchen with nourishing food, this is the place to do it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Because that is because I think that's a really good, someone would read that and be like, that is exactly what I've been wanting to do. And I don't know how.
Yeah. And then learn how. Click, and it goes over to either a services page or a blog post that you've written. So, whatever you've decided.
Even like an about page. If you have an about page that really explains like what you're doing and your philosophy. So there's so many ways you can, but even that verbiage of like learn how. So you're asking a question, like if you have been wanting to, and the call to action is learn how. It's a much, for us psychologically, for we humans, that is almost a conversation that you just had with that person who's looking at your website. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because it feels more comfortable, I think, for a lot of us who are, we just want to share the cool thing we're excited about. Like, we don't want to be like, buy my stuff. We want to be like, this is so cool. Learn more about it.
Yeah. And then buy my stuff.
So I would also think about, and I don't usually really dig into typography too much, but I would actually think about the typography choices a little bit, because you're using a lot of sans serif, this sort of blocky. And I think what you're working, like your audience probably would appreciate like sort of softer, more rounded typefaces. So even something like a Brandon Grotesque paired with like, Crimson, which is the book style font. So kind of mix that up a little bit. I think you would really, you might just have a feel that feels better to you. Kind of getting away. I'm just thinking of like the natural, I mean, I'm kind of your audience here. Like I'm like, kind of like, if you, vegetarian, like, bakes my own bread, like really tries to like, I just had a food box from the local farmer food box delivery service land on my front porch. I mean, so I am kind of your audience here.
And I want to see soft fonts.
Yeah, and I do like that sort of like bulky doesn't it doesn't quite land as well as something that's a little more like softened and friendlier, I think is probably the word I'm looking for.
What do you think of, I mean, you're the typography person here. What do you think of Poppins, or is that too?
I love Poppins. That's another good option.
I'll just write that one down.
So again, we're looking for like those rounded forms, more inviting.
Yeah, and that's organic.
Headline font.
All right. Do we have time for a couple more websites or one more?
Yeah,
website?
we've got one more in the chat. So let me.
I'm glad to see, Emma, that you've got like content. You have a content plan.
Content.
Sarah and I love those content plans. So, but I would, in terms of that word where it says topics, I would actually get a sub headline with a keyword in there. You know.
Yeah, and explain what people are going to expect when they click on those, because I was unsure.
Oh, so look at, she's got that style. The image with the overlap.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, look at Rebecca. Okay, so we've got up next our last victim here is Rebecca. She's in Oakland, and she has the website Coaching for Wellness, and her challenge is getting more website traffic in general. Let's see what you're gonna whoops, I keep going to the wrong tab. I
like that pop-up.
Oh, that's a great pop-up, actually.
Your personal menu. I mean, that's all going to help with eyeballs on your site. I don't want to say it's a slow process, because it depends on where you're putting yourself out there, and you know, whether it's social media. But if you've got eyeballs on your site, will come from your email list, right? You write your email, you send them back to the website, to a blog post, etc. That's one way. Let's see. You're looking. I'm going to look. Or I'm going to just look.
Yeah, I'm looking through it as well. You have some good content here.
Oh, and you can steal from those testimonials. I love that.
You've got an ebook. I mean, you have some really good stuff in here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look. I know so many people who this would resonate with them, where they're struggling with that creativity versus productivity balance. So helpful articles. Man, I think actually you're really close, Rebecca. So I can't tell from looking at the front of your end of your website if you are writing, say, SEO titles. So you're on Squarespace, correct? Let me double check. Yes. So, and maybe if you're still on, oh, good, you are. When you write blog posts, are you also filling in the SEO titles with search? Because I feel like, Kath, do you feel like Rebecca's really close?
Yeah, I do.
You're doing all the right things.
Yeah, you're doing all the right things. So it's just, I think now I would say at this stage, it's a matter of growing your emailing list and focusing on email.
I haven't done any SEO optimizing with my blog posts. I need to go back and do that. That is the thing I think that you need to do.
And so my tip, because I have a lot of blog posts too, is go to the analytics, even basic Squarespace analytics and I'll put the link to how to use Squarespace analytics if you haven't done it yet, and see what your top 5 blog posts are and focus on those first.
Yeah. Or the ones that you, the other option is, because sometimes the top 5 may not give you may not be in alignment quite with what you want to be doing. So the other thing is like, maybe you're like, this one here is really, really speaking to my big mission or my big message. And so I'm going to go in and do optimization of this because this is very important in terms of supporting what I'm trying to teach people. And so right now, how to replenish your energy after a busy period is pretty vague. So in Squarespace, you can write that SEO title where you can, we call it state qualifiers or modifiers, where you can make it narrower and more clear who you're talking. So it could be, let me look at this example. Let me look at this one real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you could say, make this 9 ways artists can
replenish,
avoid burnout.
Ah.
You know, and you could probably qualify it a little bit more even after, you know, whatever. So always think about who is the person. And I don't know if the person is artist. I'm just saying that's an example. So making that, so always think of the post title is for marketing, the SEO title is for Google. And so if you can narrow it and focus it, so we call that qualifying or modifying, so that you have a really specific audience that you're talking to, that can make a huge difference, an absolute huge difference. I started adding the word consultants to a lot of my blog posts because that's who I'm talking to. Like I'm talking to, and I'm using that word very intentionally versus like a word like coach, which is a different audience. And that made a huge difference.
I'm just dropping a link in for where you can find SEO versus the blog title.
Yeah. And Rebecca said, sometimes it's hard to know what words to use since I work with different creative people. And that's fine. Like, you know, artists, musicians, etc. I typically recommend picking 1 or 2 for the SEO title, it being very strategic. And that's where it comes back to, because I also do a lot of work with designers in business strategy stuff. So my content that is aimed to bringing in those people who are maybe feeling, frankly, it's all the time. It's like they feel like they don't have control of their systems. Like, I'm going to be really honest. Those are my business consulting clients. And so I say in the SEO title for those posts, I say, like usually I say consultants and designers. It's kind of wishy-washy. I mean, really in the rules, you should pick one. But I do get a fair amount of traffic with the designer qualifier, and I get a fair amount of traffic with the consultant qualifier. And I haven't anecdotally seen harm because I chose those 2. But you don't want to listen like how artists, musicians, painters, singers, like pick and actually go through and even write out, like sort of make like, here's literally on a piece of paper. I've grabbed my pen. I don't know. Matthew, you know what I'm doing, right?
I know what you're doing. Make a grid.
I'm making a grid. Literally go through and do an inventory of this is my sort of quick and dirty content cluster tutorial. For you, Rebecca, I would recommend a concept of, people don't use the word creatives to describe themselves. Like it's like if I were to say I would be in the bucket of creatives, but I'm not going to search for help with like, it's just it's funny how we, anyway, so this is my quick and dirty content cluster summary. We have a whole workshop on this, by the way, that's pretty awesome. But the content cluster is basically, it is a cluster of content. So it's like a group of pieces of content that are related to a single topic. And it always is anchored by one broad sort of ultimate guide to how to the state of, I mean, those are kind of the biggies. There's other ways you can tackle it, but those are the ones that we typically have people. And so that would be a big, broad, like the state of X or the ultimate guide to X. And I actually think that how to replenish your energy could potentially be what's called a pillar post, that big post, because it could be like the complete guide to avoiding burnout for, you know, whatever qualifier you want to use. And then you have around that a cluster of 3, 5, however you want, related pieces of content to that, which drill down more narrowly. You could actually create content clusters around the different types of creatives that you work with. So you could have one that's kind of focused more on musicians. You could have one that's focused more on fine artists. You could have one that's focused on, so you could do that. It's kind of an unconventional approach, but I actually think you probably have the content there to do your optimizations in that way. I mean, I just explained like a huge, massive strategy in a minute. So, but basically my thinking is you could go through, find like 3 to 5 things that are really specifically related to X kind of audience, 3 to 5 things that are really specifically related, and there can be overlap too, obviously, but they're related to X kind of audience, and optimize them maybe for those couple of different audiences to try to bring in traffic in those ways. Does that sound crazy, Kath, or does that actually kind of
I think that sounds good. And I think you can look at your current blog as it is and find all those topics already practically written for you, and you just pull those pieces and create new content with that information. Like you don't have to start from scratch, I don't think.
I think you've got so many of the bones here. That's why I'm because really you've got this compassionate mindset shifts around productivity. This alone, you are halfway to a really good content cluster. You know, how to support. I mean, you've got how I became a composer. I mean, this is kind of like your story that would probably be part of something related to musicians. I mean, you've got so many pieces here. So I think it really is the re-optimization and being really, really thoughtful in future content that you create. So being like, does this fit in my cluster?
Yeah. And Rebecca just said, I have a lot of content on my social media or podcast. Yes. Get transcribe those podcasts and get them on your website.
And again, podcasts are another thing that because again, you use much more natural language.
I'm getting Kina's website again.
She's a good example.
I love her example with podcasts.
Yeah, because that's such a great way to get some of that natural language in. And, and frankly, some people, like, I read faster than I can listen or watch. So if there's a transcript available, I will often like sort of scan a transcript before deciding if I want to watch a video or listen to a podcast episode. And so it's also just kind of a nice thing to do for your,
she calls these her money files. So she actually has almost like a whole separate blog. She's not on Squarespace. She is using Showit, I believe.
Yeah.
But this is an example. So she introduces the topic. She talks a little bit, writes out some steps, and then she puts the podcast link there and then the whole transcript. And I mean,
so she has this great intro. Here's what you'll learn about. Here's the episode. And then this was something she actually, she's one of our community members, and we talked to her quite a bit about doing this, like pulling out these headlines. So this is very content rich.
Yeah. And pulling headlines from actual language that it's like using testimonial language. So it's natural language, so people can relate. They're like, oh, she gets me. She gets what the problem is.
So this is so she's done a really good job of turning these podcast episodes into really powerful sort of multi-purpose pieces of content. So it's a good example to look at.
Yeah.
And really doing this little bit of extra work is really wise.
And a friend of mine, she just bought, and I wish I could remember the name of the app she bought. I'm sorry, I can't remember. If I find out, I'll get it to you. But it is a transcribing AI thing.
Oh, I have one of those on my phone.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. It's very cool.
Transcribing all her videos.
Rev, maybe?
Might have been Rev.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. And it's really
worth the money because transcribing.
Otter.ai, was it Otter?
Oh, okay. So you have. So if you have a transcribing service, I think it's worth the money, especially if you do a lot of talking, either video or podcasts.
Rebecca, I'm not super worried about you, to be honest. I think you've got the pieces there. It's really going through and like being super intentional with that content, making sure that you're using keywords in your headlines and your blog posts, optimizing, the back end of your blog posts, and then getting those podcasts transcribed and having those be another, because you'll get there. I mean, that's the thing. And especially if you do, say you do any guest posts anywhere, that'll bring in some backlinks. You're not someone I'm super worried about, to be honest.
At least, from the website side. So if you're doing emailing, I think that's going to be bringing in the.
Yeah. So you've got the pieces. It's really, and so honestly, frankly, I don't know how old your website is, but it looks like it's relatively new. So it's also just time, which is like kind of the crappy
truth of things.
There is, if you go to our Crowdcast channel, and I always find it by Googling Sarah Moon Crowdcast. There is an old Ask Me Anything that's specifically about SEO, and there's one specifically about blogging. And those would probably be pretty useful to you as well. If you, I'm sorry, I don't remember everyone who's ever come to one of these. So if you already saw them, my apologies, but those may be useful to you as well. And I'm trying to think if there's any other resources, Kath.
I'm just throwing that one in for you.
Yeah.
There, we've got the link here. It's the Sarah Moon Crowdcast link.
Yeah. And you can you don't need to watch them. Like you can literally put it on your phone and listen to it and go for a walk. And so that should be, there's some old ones that you can register for. If any of them are full, you can also Google the YouTube channel and they'll come up too.
Yeah.
So, I just like the one, I like the Crowdcast app because you can click and jump around more easily than on YouTube. So
I love that they save them for you. That's
awesome. It's really
well.
All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us.
That was fun.
We really appreciate it. What we do after the after this is we compile all the links, and we send out a little email that's gives you all the links and anything that we've mentioned. And Kath, do we have a topic for next month?
Not yet. Maybe we should do standard operating procedures.
Oh, that's actually a really good one. Or we're going to.
I actually have a standard operating procedure for this particular next step because I have to get all the links and I can never.
We'll finally carry out our threat to do one all about contact pages because.
Right. No, we wanted to do contact pages because
contact pages are really an underutilized resource.
So Raymond, that would be for you too, because we could add commission pages to that because that is kind of a contact page.
Yeah, that's the thing. Contact pages are a really interesting subject, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it is a back end. It is a back
end. I'm kind of laughing at the idea of contact pages being interesting, but they are.
They are. And when you show people how they can really truly be a back end office tool, they're like, what?
Yes, it's your office. That's then talking about linking over to a thank you page, all of that stuff. Let your website be an employee. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much you can offload to your website.
Yeah.
Raymond said he just started an SOP for setting up his paint and sip class.
Good. Yes. I don't know about you, but I need them. I'm like, how do I do this again?
So we'll do one. We do these every month. I think we're also doing a new challenge thing next month that we're not quite ready to.
We'll announce it later because
I have not finished writing the copy for the landing page. So that's why I had a goal of getting that out there by today, but
you know what? That's why we need a vacation. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much for coming.
And an SOP for waking up now.
Yes.
Since I almost overslept yesterday.
Feed the cats.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.